Ready? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this special press conference. You know that the minister made a couple of visits recently, one to Turkey to represent CARICOM at the CELAC Turkey meeting. And then on the next one, he was with the President Granger in the UK to present Guyana's interests on a number of fronts. So this afternoon, he'll be able to discuss some more with you, some of the activities that he undertook while there. And I know that you're interested because I see quite a few of you here. So let's go right into the press conference. I'm sure the minister will give you a statement, and then you will ask questions and follow the usual procedure where you identify yourself and a news organization and ask your question. Allow me to identify you before you ask. Thank you very much.
Thank
Minister.
you very much, Ms. McPherson. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'll read you a short statement and we'll make copies available to you shortly. As Ms. McPherson indicated, I led a Guyana team, including the Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to Istanbul, Turkey, from the 20th to the 22nd of April. And that team participated in the fourth meeting of the Quartet of Foreign Ministers of CELAC. The quartet comprises the past chair, namely Ecuador, the current chair, that's the Dominican Republic, and the chair of CARICOM, namely Guyana. So those four countries were represented at the meeting at the ministerial level, and we met with the Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister Çavuşoğlu. Turkey is, of course, an important and rising geoeconomic influence in the world. It serves as a socio-cultural, political, and economic bridge between Europe and the Middle East, and generally between East and West. It has also been increasing its footprint as a donor state and has been investing in the Latin American Caribbean region. In 1998, for example, it developed a Latin America Caribbean Action Plan. And in that framework, it has provided a great deal of support to the region as well as to Guyana on a variety of fronts, including health and education. In addition to discussing common concerns and sharing ideas on cooperation, the parties, namely CELAC and Turkey, agreed on and issued a joint declaration on the establishment of a permanent mechanism of cooperation between the Republic of Turkey and CELAC. Subsequently, over the period April 24th to the 28th, I participated with the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana in an official visit to the United Kingdom. The visit spanned a number of events, ranging from meetings with individual and collective investors to a seminar on developments in Guyana. It was capped by a meeting between the President and the Queen at Windsor Castle on April 26th. On the 27th, over 250 members of the Guyanese diaspora participated in a public meeting with the visiting Guyana team at the classic banqueting suite Caribbean Fusion restaurant in Tooting, London. The visit takes place at a critical juncture of Guyana's development and at an equally critical one in the UK's political and economic evolution. In keeping with this, the representatives of the UK and Guyana and the Guyana government discussed a range of important, pertinent issues such as Brexit implications for Guyana and the proposed transitional arrangements for the Caribbean, cooperation in the sphere of crime and security, and in relation to the development of a green state in Guyana. In addition, they discussed collaboration on several fronts, such as protecting the environment and combating climate change. On the UK side, the government was represented by the Right Honourable Mr. Boris Johnson, Foreign Secretary in the Foreign Commonwealth Office, as well as the Right Honourable Baroness Anneley of St. John's, who is the Minister for the Commonwealth and United Nations. As you know, Baroness Anneley is currently in Guyana, or at least she would have left this morning. The arrangements for meeting, for the meetings and the other arrangements were made by representatives of the Caribbean Council. Caribbean Council, as you may know, succeeds the West Indian Society, which was a body representing the planters of the Caribbean, who, after completing their work in the Caribbean, retired to the United Kingdom, and as many people pray, retired to ridings in the United Kingdom that they represented in Parliament. So they became members of Parliament and were important voices in British policy for many years. Caribbean Council is the successor body to that, and maintains an interest in things Caribbean, in investment in the Caribbean, economic and business activities in the Caribbean. And it was, that was the body that facilitated the meetings. The team was also hosted at an annual reception at the Palace of Westminster on April the 25th, where they addressed and were addressed by, and had exchanges with, numerous representatives of the House of Lords and the elected members of Parliament. The invitation to these events, as I indicated, was extended and arranged by the Caribbean Council, and Lord Bruce of Benachie, who is the Shadow Secretary of State and the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, served as the chairperson for the Caribbean Council events and those at the House of Lords. The Guyana team included High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Mr. Hamley Case. I thank you very much. Please go on.
Okay, thanks, Minister. Now, you know the procedure. You raise your hands and we go in order. So, please.
Minister, could you speak more to the meeting with investors? Can you speak of any firm proposals that came out of it, any commitments, any MOUs, any relations that you
The meetings with investors were, as I said, collective as well as separate meetings. So you had, perhaps I should say the bulk of the investors were investors interested in the petroleum and gas sector. So the first set of meetings in terms of attendees, while small, those meetings were not intended to. At a meeting with investors of this type, you don't hold a meeting expecting them to put $10 million on the table or $50 million on the table. What they come to the meeting to do is to find out, one, whether the framework that you have is one that can accommodate them. Two, if they have any complaints 3, whether they have any suggestions as to how they might be attracted to investing in Guyana or enticed to investing, and perhaps more importantly, at this particular, the meeting where many of them participated, the Caribbean Council meeting, they gave their own impressions of the experience of investing in Guyana and some of the challenges. There were a number of them spoke to where they started off, where they were today, what their plans were, and the like. It was more on that side. It wasn't a technical meeting. At a technical meeting, you would expect them to make specific proposals, but those that were about to undertake investment, for example, did indicate. You had Tullow Oil, for example, which is a British and Irish company, was there. It spoke to its involvement in Guyana, where it started, and when they expected to commence exploration, having completed their exploratory work on the shelf. And there were a significant number of others, that spoke to their experience in the service sector and elsewhere. So that's what I can tell you about that exercise.
Kurt Campbell, News Source. Minister said discussions were held regarding the implications of Brexit for the Caribbean. I wanted to ask if there are any new or developing concerns that we should know about. Because, I mean, some of the things have been expressed on what the implications are. Are there anything new or developing?
Well, the issue with Brexit, as you know, is that neither of the parties in question, neither the UK nor the US has nor the EU has a complete picture of what is to evolve, because the arrangement for the exit of the United Kingdom has to be negotiated. Our job there was not to so much find out what they're negotiating, but was to indicate to the British government where our concerns lay, where our interests lay, to ascertain from them whether in terms of timetable or in terms of their negotiations they had anything they think that we should know, and perhaps most importantly, to ask them to address the question of the transition from Britain in the EU to Britain out of the EU, because that transition has implications for those who supply the United Kingdom with products, such as sugar in the case of Guyana, and for those who purchase United Kingdom goods, which also applies to Guyana. And as you know, once they are out of Brexit, you will have tariffs of some type, new regulations of some type, which will affect agricultural products and others. And if there are tariffs on products, for example, going into Britain, then Guyana as a country selling products to Britain would have to face such tariffs. Whereas when Britain was in the EU, we had negotiated an EPA, about which a lot of nonsense has been spoken. Now we see the value of that. Now that Britain is proposing to leave the EPA, we have now to deal with Britain as a new arena into which we want to get products. And therefore we have to see with them what may be done about the tariffs that had been abolished when Britain was in the EU. And that is what we're discussing, to have a transitional arrangement so that not only Britain, but that the Caribbean can have a soft landing as a result of these changes.
Yes.
Samuel Savannah, Evening News. Says one of the issues discussed was horizon security.
Yes.
Can you say specifically what some of those concerns and what assurances were given to some of the potential investors?
Well, the investors, by and large, didn't really raise all that many problems about crime and security. The discussion I was mentioning in relation to crime and security was the discussion between the government of Guyana and the government of United Kingdom, namely to ensure or to come to an agreement under which the security arrangement between Guyana, a loan, a grant for assistance to the services from the United Kingdom, which had been signed in 2007 and then abandoned by the PPP government in 2009, could be restored. And that was what the discussion was about, to ensure that those areas that they even at that time had identified as necessary for Guyana to secure external support, and which Britain was prepared to provide, could be implemented. And so that security arrangement is to be reactivated, and it is the mechanics of that that were under discussion. There is currently an expert here who's looking at the modalities of getting it in place, what might call a scoping mission, to see, as of now, what exactly is needed, how much of that money could be utilized, and what should be the priorities, how it should be changed compared to 2007. Okay?
Safe.
Perhaps I can say that in relation to the private sector, I suppose they asked about the general framework and the outlook for security. They asked about the prospects of the areas bordering Venezuela, for example, being affected by the problems in currently being experienced in Venezuela, and by, if you like, the behavior of Venezuelans and of Venezuelan institutions in relation to the sector. And we, of course, gave them the assurance, as did a number of the other companies, that they could rest assured that as far as we could see, and as far as is reasonable, what was being experienced on the Guyana side of the border as regards cross-border security would continue. In other words, there is no reason to expect that their investments on the Guyana side of the borders would be threatened in any way. So that was the tone of the exchanges with the investors themselves, whether they be those who were discussing sugar, because we did speak to investors who had traditionally helped to market our sugar, and also we spoke to service agencies, the whole set of them. I don't suppose that you want the list, but some of them included, for example, the Crown agents and those who were interested in investing in the mining sector, gold mining, and other mining areas. For example, British firms, some who were based outside, pardon me, and the like.
Okay, thanks. Safe, and then you. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Andy, sir, I heard you mentioning this meeting and such like that the president attended. I have no idea say anything about the president meeting with the Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Could you say in details if that meeting has any benefits deriving from that meeting for Guyana? If probably the president raised the issue with the border controversy in Venezuela, with the Queen and all of that, and what that kind of thing into that matters?
Well, that's a hard one because, as you may be aware, private discussions with the Queen are supposed to be private. And I don't know whether I can divine from the President's smile or from the half stories he tells a full story to tell you. But what I know is that he was, in his place, I think we would have been excited at the meeting. Not so much because of the fact of the meeting, but that they were able to discuss a variety of things in which they shared a common outlook. So they range from the Green State, and the issues of the Green State, as you know, the Queen has a number of initiatives associated with the environment, with the there's a recent program in which they're looking at is the Millennium Canopy program and others. So they had they spent a long time, more than we had scheduled for them. So they apparently discussed a number of things that they found interesting. The value to Guyana of that meeting is that the meeting indicated the priority that the UK is ascribing to Guyana at this point in time. It isn't every head of state who is entertained by the Queen, even when they go on official visits, and the Queen and the President, I think, discussed, as can be gleaned from the time and the hints, they discussed the entire range of subjects that he wished to discuss. To that extent, it is valuable and important to us. I don't know whether the Queen said all she wanted to say, but he said all he wanted to say, including all the things that he believed were a priority. I don't want to say more than that about any specifics.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Minister, could you say throughout your engagements in the UK, if the issue was agreed by
The issue of environmental regulations in the UK is one that the High Commission has been pursuing with the authorities in the United Kingdom. We didn't hold any specific meeting on that one because, as I say, it is something we raised with them before, and it is an ongoing exercise between the High Commission, which liaises with the timber exporters of Guyana, and the UK. But they're aware of it, and the importance of timber to us and the properties of the various timber, the importance of the UK market to us, was raised in the President's own presentation and in mine. So that is something we hope to resolve down the line. It wasn't that in the public meeting this was a question was raised by us with the two ministers. We run the full gamut of things of common interest and those concerns of Guyana.
Okay. Stabrook News.
Minister, I just needed Marcel Thomas from Stabrook News. I just needed a clarification on two things. When you were speaking
You might find out
about
whether anybody is interested in talking.
reform program,
Mm-hmm.
was it the SSRIP you were making reference to? That's one?
Yes.
That was it. And two, the meeting with prospective investors, I wanted to know, is it that there were no formal commitments from the investors? Was there any promises to visit Guyana or anything like that, or follow-up meetings?
Yes, as I was saying, these weren't technical meetings. I didn't walk with the DG. Decided not to accompany me, and the technicians who are responsible for gold mining or manganese, earth metals, they weren't there. That was not the purpose of the meeting. We would not sign an agreement with a private sector agency without the technical agencies being involved. So this meeting was a government-to-government meeting, and then a meeting with the Caribbean Council, which was seeking to do this. Look, there is a place named Guyana, which you may or may not know anything about. We are arranging a forum. Come and you can learn more about it. If you're interested in investing, you may ask questions. You may also provide material that the government can receive and look at. You may get also contacts and contact points. So you had firms from the Middle East, you had firms from the US, UK, and so forth. That was the nature of the exchanges. This would not have been, it's not an investment conference as such. We went to an official state visit.
My question then should have been clearer. What did Guyana do to maximize on those opportunities that was presented?
What did we do? We spoke a lot. We explained things. We tried to clarify issues that were raised. The president spoke on a range of different things, general and some specific things. At the large meeting, I also addressed the meeting, speaking on economic side and on diplomatic policy side. Spoke about gave assurances, outlined information sources, and encouraged them to dialogue with the relevant agencies and to use the facilities of the government, whether it be the High Commission or whether it be the GGMC, to get the information they need. So I think the discussions were fairly exhaustive, not at the end exhaustive. That isn't to say at the end that people didn't have questions or didn't have additional things they would have liked to discuss, because in fact the main meeting had to be a guillotine exercise. There were so many questions. So that's to give you an idea that people were very interested, and they come to clarify things, not to sign there. But a good part of the presentation was made not by us at all, because when we spoke, a number of the businesses chose to pick up on things that were said, say, look, I want to explain this part from the businessman's viewpoint. This is what you have to look for. This isn't quite as the government says. You know, you may have to go through this additional step, or A may be easier than is suggested here. So it was more that kind of exchange than an arrangement for signing anything. And a number of the firms have left us with documents which we brought for Ministry of Agriculture, for the Minister of Natural Resources, and the like. Ministry of Business. Some of that was discussed yesterday.
Okay, Gary.
Yes, on the security assistance, you spoke of the initial talks and the scoping mission. I'm wondering, do you have any or enough information to give us a timeline as to when these funds can possibly be released back again? And on Brexit, can you say if there's a mechanism established between Guyana and the UK to deal with trade relations following the complete exit from the EU?
Well, the first question about funds and their timing, I believe that I'm in order in saying, although the specific arrangements are to be settled by the Office of the President and the technician, the advisor, who answers to the President, actually. I believe that exercise will be completed before year end, and there will be arrangements for some part of those funds to be disbursed before the end of the year. I'm fairly sure that is the intention and that's the plan. Okay? As regards Brexit, we traditionally have had an arrangement for dialogue with the United Kingdom through the High Commissioners here and in London. But over the years, as the UK has worked as an integral part of the European Union, that discussion would have taken place primarily in Brussels and with the assistance and through the EU delegate here. What will be happening in future, and that this would have to be increasingly after this year, those discussions will take place through the usual channels, government to government channels, sometimes Ministry of Trade to Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Business to Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. So all the agencies of the United Kingdom relevant to this arena will come back into play.
But
There is
hasn't been that reactivation as yet.
no, because the UK itself hasn't restructured itself to be in a post-Brexit mode. It's not contrary to what many people have said or said prior to the referendum in the United Kingdom. It's not really for me to comment on that. But contrary to a lot of the things I heard, the reality is a far cry from what was being said, especially as regards simplicity, especially as regards the ease of settling new arrangements. And if that is true of the EU and the the EU and the United Kingdom, it is also true of Guyana and the United Kingdom, Caribbean and the United Kingdom, ACP and the United Kingdom, because it is with those parties. We are part of an ACP group with arrangements with the United Kingdom and the EU. We're part of the CARIC Forum that has arrangements with the EU and now has to make new arrangements with the United Kingdom, and we are part of ACP, EU, and we are, of course, at the bilateral level. We have to look. It's complicated, and it's not going to be just to flick a switch or to sign a document and say, this is it. We have now to find our way around a lot of the problems and challenges and the new conditions.
Okay, Shansa?
Shansa Samuel Serenity. Minister, can you comment briefly on Baroness Ambler's visit to Ghana? What were the talks like, some of the discussions as well?
Well, I can't, in a nutshell. Baroness Anley is here, and she has been speaking both to the government and to other actors. I have not got a briefing as to her discussions with other actors, but she did meet with the president yesterday morning, myself and the president and his office, including the Minister of State, and they discussed a range of things. Issues about Guyana. There was some mention of Brexit, but mostly about specific bilaterals and of the challenges as regards the controversy over the border, how we might move forward on that, whether anything was expected of the United Kingdom in that regard. You will recall, of course, that the award of 1899 was an award that arose from United States pressure on Britain. In 1895, it was reflected in the Treaty of 1897. The 1897 treaty was signed by the United Kingdom. Okay, Great Britain was the signatory to that. And the award was accepted by the Venezuelan government, just as it was accepted by the representatives of the government of the United Kingdom. And in 1966, when the Geneva Agreement was signed, it was first signed by Britain and Venezuela in February of 1966. And then when Guyana became independent, in May, Guyana signed that agreement. So it is the principal signatory to the agreement. And in that regard, it has a responsibility and a role. So that is why that arose. And we spoke a little bit about what might be required. I see the Director General looking at me very severely. Is there something I've forgotten, DG? You don't want to add anything? I don't mind if you tell me. Sometimes I forget.
Okay, safe, and then
Yeah, Minister, I find it very welcome the persons in Edinburgh, Guyana, on the map, known also as BG. I find it very difficult to understand that.
You find it difficult to understand they don't remember? But you
Many of them might not remember, because I'm not hearing that coming out. When you raise a question that's not about a person, so you're here waiting to ask person in Nova Guyana. Probably you could say each might remember. Anyway,
I see, yeah.
Mr. Minister, has there been any time during the discussion the question of reparation came up during those meetings? That's a tough one. If the President had any chance to talk with the UK Prime Minister on this matter of reparation, that is a concern that needs to be answered, sir. Has that came up, or has a discussion raised in the minds and the thoughts of the President to make that discussion needed?
Let me say to you that when the representatives of the Caribbean met with the British Prime Minister, the last British Prime Minister in 2016 or 2015, do you recall? Might have been mid last year. They had a discussion, and coming out of that discussion was a commitment to devote resources. I think it might have been £165 million to infrastructure, resource assistance to the region. And that is what followed a discussion about reparations. The region has not, I believe, looked at this matter again, as far as I can remember. But in any case, this was not a matter we addressed during the course of this visit.
okay, Gina.
Gina, just coming back to the permanent mechanism for CELAC. How soon
I was thinking that you had forgotten. It takes a young lady to remember this. Okay.
how soon can we see this mechanism being put into play, and what for Guyana, one of the more pressing things you'd like to see addressed?
DG, can I ask you to help me here?
The meeting which Minister attended as a rep on the CELAC Quartet was the fourth meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the CELAC Quartet and Turkey. So there was already an ongoing exchange, collaboration between CELAC and Turkey. So the instrument which was signed was merely to make this meeting now a permanent arrangement. And there was a list of issues which will form part of the discussions that will move forward from here. We already have between CELAC and Turkey a range of projects that we are involved in. And so this mechanism, like I said, is only now to make this now a permanent arrangement instead of an ad hoc kind of mechanism which existed before. So it is really a continuation of what existed.
You want to?
Some of the issues that would have come up.
If you want.
If I may list some of the issues that we actually agreed to pursue. It is an economic legal framework between CELAC member states and Turkey, and that will include the conclusion of bilateral and multilateral agreements on trade and investments. Collaboration in the area of tourism promotion, increased connectivity in terms of flights between Turkey and the region, and I think there have already commenced negotiations with Panama to use the Copa airline. Then to have a forum for small and medium-sized enterprises, to explore the possibility of cooperation in the field of energy, joint exploration of mineral, geothermal resources, and promoting projects in the area of renewable energy. Those were among the main areas that will form part of this permanent mechanism now for collaboration between CELAC and Turkey.
Okay.
But they have also, of course, over the years, provided assistance in relation to Guyana as such, by way of ambulances, education, and others. And in the region, the question of emergency relief, the assistance to countries in disaster preparedness, disaster relief, that is one they've done in the past, undertake to do in the future. And a specific area I might mention that's relevant to Guyana is the question of assistance in relation to disputes. And they are they have an arrangement in place whereby they assist Belize and they assist in the dialogue between Belize and Guatemala over the border controversy. I believe later this year there is to be a meeting facilitated by Turkey in relation to that particular problem, maybe sometime in June. Okay, so it's a wide range of things. They are very concrete and specific things. We discussed more generally common issues, terrorism, problem of jeopardies of climate change, and the like. And Turkey, as I indicated at the beginning, is a country with enormous capacity in terms of industrial and, if you like, administrative capacity to do things to change their environment, and therefore it is a partner at a bilateral and at a regional level that can render us significant amount of assistance. We spoke to them at the CELAC meeting in that regard. We spoke to them in a Guyana capacity in that regard, because in relation to our cooperation needs, technology, familiarity with technology, the enhancement of technological capacity is critical to us if we are to survive in this world. And therefore we need partners that can assist us in that regard. They have capacity on the petroleum side, on construction, whether it's construction of hydro or of roads. Here's a place with capacity. And if you ever have the chance to look at the TV and see the Bosphorus, on which Istanbul, for example, sits, one of the world's major waterways and transport routes, you will see what fantastic construction has taken place on the two sides of that waterway, one of which is in the east and the other one in the west, and what they've done in the waterway as well. So they have capacity that we can benefit from if we collaborate.
Okay. One more question. Somebody wanted to ask a question. Did you raise your hand? Oh, okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yes.
You want to ask one, Ms. Tabuk?
It's not really. I just wanted to know if there was any update. You made reference to the Britain and the Venezuelan controversy. Is there any update? In a general sense.
On Britain or on the country? Oh, okay. Yes, the dialogue with the partners at the international level takes place, and the United Nations Secretary General continues to dialogue with us through his personal representative, and we expect that he will be in and out of Guyana over the next few weeks quite frequently.
Okay. Thank you very much.